Y'all mute y'all phones.
Do we still need our phones?
Nope. Y'all mute y'all phones.
Yep. We streaming from the our Facebook page as well.
Nope.
Okay, I'm gonna open up my iPad and try to share that from my page there. That's a good move.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Happy Cinco de Mayo, and welcome to the new home of the Positional Sports Talk Show, Post. Broadcasting live from the brand new Positional Sports Talk Show YouTube channel. We here, fellas.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
at the new location.
That's right.
What's up? What's up, fam?
What's going on?
Let's do this.
We thank y'all for coming and joining us at the new location. We're gonna bring you the same fire that we always bring you week in and week out, just at a new location.
Beautiful.
So this evening, oh my bad, fellas, I forgot to say hello to my brothers, partners in crimes. What's going on, J3? How you feeling this evening?
What's up, fam? How y'all doing? Thanks for supporting us. We appreciate it.
Professor J in the building. What's going on, brother?
Yeah, y'all know what's up. What's up, people?
We got Johnny in the building. What's going on, Johnny?
Man, it is great to be here. It feels good to be in my new home. This is an old hoodie though, but this is a new home.
And last but definitely not least, our other partner in crime. What's going on, Big Ed? How you feeling this evening?
I feel great. Absolutely great.
I hear you. I hear you. So this evening, folks, we are going to bring you our positions and perspective on the hottest topics in sports. We will do this while providing our opinions with no hidden agendas and no deference to any team or organization. Again, my name is Big Reg, and we welcome you to our new home, the Positional Sports Talk Show YouTube network. We appreciate you checking in with us. This evening, we will discuss how the coronavirus continues to affect all sports around the globe and how different sports entities are trying to reopen or relaunch their seasons and what we think about that. We're going to hit that real hard right off the top. We're also going to look at the NFL free agency, more specifically, the the top free agents that are still left available, including Cam Newton. And we're going to get into why is Cam Newton still on the market. We're also going to hit the G League. The G League signed 3 big-time players over the last month. Is this the end of the NCAA as we know it? And will this be good for the NBA? Things that caught our eye during the week. And of course, we always sign off with our final post of the evening. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. This is Post on the Position on Sports Talk Show YouTube channel. Glad you joined us. So fellas, we've been talking about Corona since last week of February. And man, it seems to me that regardless of what's going on as far as the virus is continued to spread in this country, unfortunately, thousands and thousands of people are dying. We have more than 1,000 to 2,000 people dying every day. But you got these different sports organizations deciding that they're ready to open back up and get back to business. It starts off with our man Dana White. He got put in his place a couple of weeks ago, trying to put on UFC 249, and the governor of California made a few phone calls, and ABC and Disney said, yeah, we can't have them problems. But Dana told us, I'll be back, and I'll be one of the first, if not the first, to come back. And sure enough, this Saturday night, UFC 249, coming to you live from the good old state of Florida, where everything goes down in Florida these days.
Man.
Bringing it hard. Not only is he doing one show, Dana's going to do 3 shows in Florida in the month of May, and is promising at least 2 shows every month for the rest of the year. Plus, he's going to kick off, what does he call it? The Fight Island. He's leased a private island where he's already building a gym and production facilities so that he can have international fighters fly in, go into quarantine, fight, go back into quarantine before they go back home. So, I mean, let's put it up to the floor.
Told y'all he was going to do it.
How ignorant is that? I mean, come on, man. Are you serious? Are you not looking at the death tolls? I mean, look at the death tolls that we have right now. We're up to almost 70,000 bodies that have passed away. That's just ludicrous. Why would you expose anybody to the possibility of dying just to do a fight? Come on, man. Really? Is it that important?
I'm with
Are
you,
you
Joe,
serious?
but all I was saying was he was going to do it. I knew he was going to do it, but I feel you. I'm on your side.
Oh yeah, you called it. You definitely called it. But that's just crazy.
Well, let me be the devil's advocate to you, J3. If the people are tested, everybody involved, there's no fans, they're just going to broadcast the fights. So you're talking about 50 people total. Everybody gets tested before and after, and you're just going to broadcast it. Why not?
Because you still don't, they have proven that this virus is undetected. So even though they test you on your forehead for that day, doesn't mean it's still not in your system.
No. I'm not talking about temperature checks. They're actually doing coronavirus checks. Dana White has purchased coronavirus testing kits that will give them their answer within 20 minutes to an hour.
Okay, so let me just throw it right back at you. If that was you, a fighter, would you go out and go into the ring with somebody else? Are you that hard up for money, bro?
Yes.
Wow. Let me hear
If
you,
I
John.
knew the other, if I knew the other guy, see the test they're going to use, they're going to take a swab, stick it in your nose all the way to the back of your throat. If everybody goes through the official test, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I'm out here to make money. Eventually, we got to get back to some form of normalcy, and these people are going to find it. Like I said originally, they have the money to test a couple of different ways they can go about doing these things. You stop Dana the first round, he back in the second and third round, and he's still ready to go. This is a fight. This is a fight. He lost the first one. He found another way. He changed up his. He switched to lefty. He's getting the jab off now. It's going to happen if people can get tested. If we can guarantee safety, it's tough to do. But the first person out the gate is always the first person to get hurt, and he's that guy. But he's gonna take it because he's a millionaire. After he listens to us, he relaxes by his infinity pool. He ain't worried about our conversation.
I see you wanted to jump in here, Big Ed. Come on.
How you know? I'm itching. So here's the thing. We briefly got into this when Dana got slapped down a few weeks ago. So what you have here is perception versus reality. And let me back up for a second and say my whole thing all along was you can't move forward with these fights or any sports until everyone can simply walk out their house, walk down the street, and get tested.
Preach on it, son. Preach on it.
So that's the perception of it as far as the businesses are concerned.
Right.
But that's our reality, our being regular folk. That's our reality. So with the rush to open up these sports, let's be honest. The bottom line is they're not trying to provide entertainment or provide a sense of normalcy or what have you. So far, 12 billion has been lost in the sporting world here in America. 12 billion. And projections as far as the fall, if football, college football, and pro football suffer similar fates as far as cancellations, you're talking about double that 12 billion. So the bottom line is the money.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
It's always the money.
And right. And so with these states slowly opening it up, of course, Florida can't be happy with just messing up elections. They got to mess up everything else too. And I digress.
Be easy, Ed, be easy.
We rapping about sports. We talking about sports. So I'm gonna take it back. But the corporate sponsors who put a halt to UFC and Dana White, and in fact, all the other sports beforehand, now that the states are opening up, the perception is it wasn't us. Now it's acceptable because, hey, the state's open, so we might as well go about doing business. Of course, we're going to be cautious about it. You know, we're going to have our own little testing, and, you know, we're not going to have any fans or spectators, and we're going to do the proper social distancing, but it's all farce. I just wish that they would not do it. And I'm all about people earning a living. You know, I want everybody to eat, but at the same time, we're not being smart.
Right.
We're not being smart.
Yeah,
I hear you, but I would tell you,
just
it's going to be safer going and fighting in the UFC than going into some of these barbershops and nail salons that they're opening up down south, where you don't know who's doing what. But we won't digress with that one either.
And right behind him is the WWE. It all goes hand in hand. They're gonna make their money.
So, Professor Jay, what's your take as far as are you with the reality of opening sports? It's good for the morale, or is it good for the economy? Like, what is your take on this?
I mean, I'm with saving lives, so I'm more on Joe's boat instead of, you know, making the money and everything like that. Look, I get it. We're all starved for sports. We want to put people in a frame of mind where they can forget about work and some of their problems for just a few hours a day. But we got to also look at the fact that these are businessmen and they're going to look at their bottom line. You know, they can get up there and say, oh, we want to put our people back to work. But they looking at their bank accounts, they looking at their longevity, they looking at their bottom line, and they saying, look, I done lost about 3 months worth of revenue, and now it's time for me to get back to business. So they don't really care about the lives that they have to expend in order for them to get their money. So I'm against that part of it. But, you know, all of us got a little bit of a fan in us where we say, oh, as long as you're going to put it on, I might as well watch. So we're going to tune in and we're going to watch what goes on. So, yeah.
If you step outside of the realms of feeling personally offended that these individuals are afforded or can afford the ability to get tested, then you can ask yourself, if you were to drive around right now, and I don't lay claim to any of these restaurants, but Chick-fil-A open, Arby's open, Burger King open, McDonald's open, you can go get you a fish fillet. Why the UFC can't test the waters too? If I wanted to go get a McDouble right now, I can have a McDouble in my hand. But these grown men who can go out here and go get tests, there's something wrong with them doing what they want to do. Something's wrong here. I don't get it.
The problem is that should they be able to, are we dealing with an elitist point of view? Now, just because they can get tests, well, why can't I go get a test? Why do I have to jump through hoops to get a test?
I can absolutely feel that, but I'm not expecting a dog to act like a sheep. In this country, everybody isn't afforded health care. If you go to the hospital, if you were to get shot, have health care, go to the hospital and they're checking to see if you have insurance. Their outlook, how they're going to deal with you is going to change drastically. We got to.
So let me put it like this. So let's go back to the civil rights era. If you lived in the North and you weren't subjected to the Jim Crow laws of the South, what benefit would you have to go down there in Selma or Montgomery or Birmingham or wherever you choose to go and get on the front lines and support your brothers in the South?
You clearly the
parallel is this. The parallel is this. If everyone has to have access to it, you see what I'm saying? So you say, well, it's okay. Hey, we can get tested, so we're good. But at the same time, the other side is suffering. So you support. So you would support the sport for purely entertainment purposes, but at the same time, morally, is it correct? Sometimes sometimes in life, I believe, and this is opinion, our show is based on opinion backed by facts. But sometimes in life, you have to take a moral stand and say, this ain't right. I'm not supporting that mess. You can go and have all the sports shows that you want to have, all the athletic events that you want to have, but I'm not putting my money into it or my time.
So you're not gonna watch this weekend, Ed?
Not at all.
Me either,
brother.
I ain't watching it. Hell no.
Psych, I gotta watch it because we got a show. That's our show.
Because we got to talk about it.
I can't talk. If I don't watch it, I can't talk about it.
I feel you.
See, but we in the era right now where he has enough money, and that goes for anybody. Where, granted, I understand your opinion, but he can be an individual where he can say, I could care less.
And nobody's putting
and make the money
to the heads of the athletes. They're deciding that they want to be a part of it. So if that's the risk that they want to take, who are we to take that freedom away from them for them to be able to choose? So I look at that side of it too.
Okay,
but you bring up a very valid point, Ed, and that's one reason why the NBA, while they're in the process of trying to figure out how to finish their season, the current options are sequester all the teams. The two sites on the table right now are Vegas or the Wild World of Sports and Disney. But Adam Silver has said, we will not move forward until testing is widely available throughout this country and all people who need tests can get tests. Because he's concerned about the PR nightmare, because that's what it is.
Right.
Can you deal with the PR nightmare of saying, why are these professional athletes getting tests when healthcare workers still can't get tests in some states?
Right.
Definitely people can't get tests if they really need it, or you got to wait in line for 3 days, burning gas in the car, hoping that you get through it. So I hear you.
Right.
Well,
And then take it even further. We live in a litigious society. How long before, if they do open things back up, somebody gets sick and then they trying to sue the owners, they trying to sue the companies and say, y'all let us back in, so I need to get some type of compensation, especially if somebody dies.
Well, you know, all of them are signing away war.
But what about their
waivers
families?
for the
Their families
coronavirus.
don't sign it. Their families don't sign it. What if they get sick?
I feel you.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough. So we just talked about the UFC. You got NASCAR that's getting ready to kick off. NASCAR's getting ready to do 5 races within the month, starting with South Carolina and Darlington Raceway, starting May 17th.
Well, the thing with some sports, all sports are not created equal. Like I can see a scenario where even though you have pit crews, I can see a scenario where with the proper care or caution, like a NASCAR race could go off, so to speak. A golf. I mean, there's certain sports that it's more individual. Of course, NASCAR is probably one of the most team-oriented sports that exists. But it's a car, so you have space around it. And the driver's in the cockpit by himself, literally. And like
But
I said,
you got
golf,
the pit crews.
like I said, I acknowledge that. But there are some sports that you might be able to test the boundaries as far as being able to separate. But UFC obviously as a contact sport, you can.
Right.
First of all, how many of y'all gonna look at a NASCAR race?
Man, I like iRacing better. Give me the
I like the iRacing.
Yeah.
But how many of y'all actually gonna sit there and watch the daggone car go around the ring 500 times?
At the very end, when they put the checker flag out, that's all I want to see.
All I need is the last 10 laps.
Yeah,
That's all I need, baby.
There you go.
Well, we also have to point out that NASCAR took a big hit and they're trying to, move on from that Kyle Lawson situation where he used the N-word live on iRacing.
He wasn't raised like that.
I'm glad to see my man Matt Kenseth coming out of retirement though. Matt Kenseth. Let's go.
He wasn't raised like that. It's real easy to say that after you finish saying
after
that.
the fact.
And he used the hard ER on that word.
Because he got too comfortable. He forgot where he was.
That was straight out of Olivia Pope.
Yeah. Exposed his true colors. There ain't nothing but a lie.
That's spin control.
You mentioned golf. So you say you're not going to watch NASCAR except for maybe the last 10 laps if you watch it at all.
If that.
Golf is set to start. You got Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson,
Peyton Manning,
getting
Tom
together
Brady.
with their boys Peyton Manning and Tom Brady.
I actually love golf. I know
Me too.
I actually love golf. It's one of the most mentally frustrating and challenging things you could ever do. I'm telling you, if you give it a chance, it's awesome. Now it might be a little, monotonous, but I'd rather do that than baseball.
Oh, I feel you there. I definitely feel you there.
Me too. Hey,
that's tough now. That's tough.
So after Tiger and Phil got all the pub, the young guns said we can't let them have all the glory. So you got Roy McIlroy, Dustin Johnson teaming up against Ricky Fowler and Matthew Wolff. So this one's going to be for professional current golfers, and both events are for charity. But I think the PGA is setting these events up, giving away the money up front so that they can test the waters, because they're supposed to start their new season in mid-June. So could you see, is it okay for them to be playing golf?
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of
here's the thing with golf, though. You got to understand the socioeconomics behind golf.
Wait a minute.
For the most part, the folks playing golf, they're the ones who own the teams. For the most part, follow me now. They're the ones who own the teams. They're the ones sitting on the boards, and they're the ones making most of the decisions as far as are we opening up. And if they're not directly responsible, they usually have the ear of some. Look, our president spends most of his time golfing. So, I'm just saying. I'm not
no comment.
aligning with any. I'm not aligning with any political party or what. This ain't a political show. But all I'm saying is that golf. There's a reason I'm sure that the first events, as you mentioned, Big Reg is charity. They ain't sweating it. They good. Yeah, so that's my deal as far as, and golf is, like I said, you're by yourself. I mean, you have a caddy, but
it's relaxing.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's easy to social distance on the golf course.
Yeah, but there have to be individuals working to pull it off. So it leads me to ask you, Ed, you were okay with You're okay with NASCAR and the golf,
Yes.
but
I
you
know.
got a
I know what.
problem
It,
with
I know what
UFC.
it's.
I'm confused.
I know what it's saying.
Ed.
No, if you have a combat sport, we up close and personal. You see what I'm saying?
But that wasn't your issue. Your issue was
No,
that they were
no.
in a position to get tested first.
No, no.
And that wasn't fair.
No. The issue is, as far as the golfers are concerned,
Uh-huh.
I mean, you can golf with a face mask. You see what I'm saying? I mean, there's ways that it's not a contact sport. And my issue is with the testing, and you're absolutely right. But it's not that type of proximity. So the perception is, even if we look at a golf tournament, or if we're looking at a NASCAR race, again, outside of the pit crew, they're by themselves. There's no one around. It's like I'm sitting right here in my house by myself. There's no one around me.
And you only need one announcer for golf. Ed is approaching the green.
That's the announcer
150
testing.
yards. I mean, come on. You don't need a lot of people. You need one person to run the clubhouse. You can drive your own golf cart. I mean, it is a lot of
Is the
space.
driver tested? I need to know.
No,
No,
you're the driver.
you drive.
You drive your golf cart.
First of all, professional golf, there are no golf carts. You walk
Well,
the course.
Yeah.
So you are
Yeah.
going to have a caddy because they're going to have somebody walking with you. But yeah, as long as there are no spectators out there, I can definitely see golf. I can even see tennis coming
Right.
back, because then again,
Tennis
you have
would
to
be
get
nice.
your own balls when they run out or something like that, but they'll figure that out. Last but not least, the big boy is releasing their schedule this Thursday night at 8 p.m. The NFL says they will start on schedule.
Wow.
I think the schedule is set for September 10th, with the Super Bowl scheduled for February 7th. Of course, they had some contingency plans, but they are planning to kick off football September 10th
Come on, Joe. Lead
with
us
fans
off.
in the stadiums.
That's just crazy.
Really?
That's just crazy. Because what's going to happen is the death toll is going to increase. I'm telling you right now, this is suicide for all the individuals that participate in those games. It's just stupid.
That's what they want if you ask me, but that's for another show.
It's
I
window.
hear you.
It's all window dressing, fellas. And my thing is, the NFL is carrying on as business as usual, because what else are they supposed to do? Because think about it. If you ever lose hope, and this goes and you can put it in, you can apply it to any part of life, personal, business, social, whatever. They have to maintain a sense of hope and normalcy. And so because of that, why delay? They've been releasing the schedule around this time every year, if not earlier. So why not continue it? Because they want to provide the hope that they open their season on time. Whether they do or not, ultimately that's not going to be decided by Roger Goodell and his little country club crew. It's not going to be decided by them. It's going to be decided by medical professionals, governors, and scientists. That's what's going to determine whether or not what any sport opens up. It's not Roger
It's
Goodell.
going to be more the players.
So that's Jamani. That's a good point.
Yeah.
One of our listeners just asked. Rosto said, "But isn't the real question: do team sports players really have a choice whether to play or not?"
Absolutely.
And I think that
Absolutely.
is going to be a question that we should hit next week,
Yeah.
because that is a deep question.
Right. And baseball is already leading the way in that area.
Yeah.
Mm.
So Big E, we will dig into that next week for you, and definitely check that out. So moving on to our second conversation, since we were talking about the NFL and them kicking off their season, the draft is over. We've done our draft breakdown of who did what in the draft. Now you get the second round of free agency, which is they call you. They used to come see you. Now they call you, since they can't, social distancing. Hey, buddy, we just drafted your replacement. So you got two options: take a pay cut, a drastic pay cut, or we're going to release you. We might not release you till after June 1st. So chances of you finding a job going to be slim to none. So wouldn't you like this paper now? But there's still some free agents out there on the market. big name free agents that haven't got signed.
Mhm.
Cam Newton,
Unbelievable.
Jadeveon Clowney,
Yeah. Wow.
Crazy.
Logan Reed, a top cornerback,
Mhm.
Everson Griffin, who's been a
Mhm.
monster for years with Minnesota. He had a couple of down years, but last year had a big year, but he was a cap casualty. Marcus Golden, another defensive end linebacker who had 10 sacks last year. Plus, you got Prince of Amukamora, Carlos Hyde, Eli Apple, Damian Harrison, and the other elephant in the room, Eric Reed, still out there in free agency.
Did Marshawn Lynch sign today?
They
Because I
still
know he was
negotiating.
visiting.
I haven't heard.
They're
Okay.
still-
He hasn't signed, and I don't think they would do anything with Marshawn until if the season happens halfway through the season, whatever. They know Marshawn can't do 16 or 17 games now. Be good for 6.
Mhm.
Marshawn be good for 6 or 7. So I mean, let's
Skittles.
kick it. What y'all think about these free agents out there?
So
Well,
we're
first-
going to talk. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So are we going to talk about the regular free agents, or are we going to talk about what's going on with Cam? Because we could go either way you want.
Start off with Cam, man. Let's go.
Oh.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's
You want
go.
to get in deep early?
Let's go.
I got to sit back on that one.
So,
All right, Ed.
so Cam Newton is perhaps the most, well, not perhaps. As a former MVP, he's clearly the most accomplished NFL free agent available. But there's some things that kind of smell foul with his situation.
Speak on it.
It's funny how it's because of the pandemic, it's actually working against and for, it's working against Cam Newton, but it's actually working for these NFL teams. And what I'm saying is that it's working against Cam Newton because he's unable to visit these teams. Because as we all know, or if we don't know, Cam he sat out pretty much all of last year. He had foot and shoulder surgeries back to back. And so there's no film on him last year as far as what he did as far as on the field. And at the same time, teams can't get into his body and check and see if everything is okay. Now that's working. That's working
the cover.
against.
Come on, Ed.
Hold
Talk
on.
to me.
That's working against Cam. But as far as the teams, it's giving them an out. And what I'm saying is that how is it that Andy Dalton was cut on Thursday?
My Lord.
Less than 48 hours later, he was signed by the Dallas Cowboys as a backup. But actually, he was signed, in my opinion, as insurance.
Of course.
As insurance against a black African-American quarterback
Right.
who may or may not forget his place.
Okay.
Say it with your chest, Ed.
All right. So now I'm feeling how he's feeling right now because he's led off with the civil rights movement and all that stuff. Now with Cam Newton and Dak Prescott. And
Can I add some gasoline to that though? Can I add a little bit of gasoline?
Come on.
Don't forget that Marcus Mariota, who got benched last year, got signed for $17 million, got a 2-year, $17 million contract for a quarterback that lost his job at the beginning of free agency. And Carolina did Cam dirty because they didn't release him till March. But go ahead, y'all go ahead.
I mean, no disrespect to Marcus Mariota, but I mean, are we really putting him in this conversation with the other two quarterbacks?
We have to.
But I don't.
The only reason we have to is because for far too long, African-American quarterbacks, their standard of excellence and their standard of what they have to do in order to get a job or to prove that they can lead NFL franchises and be the face of franchises, what they have to do on the field to prove that they belong, their standard is so much higher than white quarterbacks. And I would just say it.
But there's no argument there, Ed. I agree with you on
but
that.
The parallel into what my point was, yes, we have to discuss them, because how are these lesser known quarterbacks being signed, and a former MVP can't get a job?
Exactly.
Yeah, the reason I say what I say, because if you watch Mariota, he played himself out of a starting position. He didn't get hurt. He just looked terrible on the football field.
But he
didn't kneel like Kaepernick or anything like that. He played himself out of his starting job.
Right.
So if he lost it, that's what I'm saying. Are we putting him in the same category? Cam Newton got hurt. And then, the moment he comes back, what does he have? He's got a new owner, a new coach, and now they don't want him anymore. So then he gets moved out. He had his surgeries. I get all that. But now we're looking at a quarterback that's the best on the market, that was better than some of the ones that got signed, including Jameis Winston, because we got a former MVP that doesn't have a home. So, yeah, I agree with you from that standpoint. There's a black and white issue that we certainly have to continuously, in this day and age of 2020, we still talking about this thing when you have black quarterbacks that can outperform their white counterparts, but yet they don't get picked up not only as a starter, but not even as a backup. If we looked at the list of the backups that are around the league, man, you'll vomit every day of your life.
But Professor Jay, that was my point, and that's why we have to. That's why we're talking about this, is because we can't. We're trying hard to understand how is it that he's unemployed when far lesser, like I said, like the far lesser quarterbacks are employed, and this has to go back to the ownership.
Ooh, there you go.
It has to start with the ownership, in which there are no primary African-American owners in the NFL. Now, there's one Pakistani owner in Jacksonville, Mr. Khan, but there's no black owners. There's one black GM in the NFL. In a league that's 70% black, there's one black GM in Miami. And it's not coincidence that out of the 3 black head coaches that exist in the NFL, one happens to be in Miami.
And why is that?
Who has a black black GM.
And why is that?
Why is that? Because that GM he feels comfortable, I'm sure, in the same room as the man who's running his franchise on the field. And apparently the owner of the Dolphins has enough comfort and trust in the GM to do his job.
Yeah. See, you're going to take me down a rabbit hole, because it's also what fires me up that Louis Riddick doesn't have a GM, general manager, or president of football operations job, because he paid his dues working under some buffoons, even here in Washington, D.C. And if you listen to him talk, man, he calls them drafts. He analyzes players better than anybody in any organization, but yet he can't get a sniff at a GM job or president of football operations. So I'm with you on that.
But Mike Mayock got the job down in Oakland.
Yeah,
garbage.
He's a studio gangster.
Yeah, garbage.
Gentlemen, we've dealt with this particular outlook where eventually it should bring us to a point that what are we going to do? Do y'all remember the owner of the Clippers a couple of years back, before he got kicked out?
Yeah.
When he made those comments, he got recorded in his home. Let me ask you all a question. Was anybody shocked he felt that way?
Not at all.
No, but hey, Johnny,
a surprise. It's not a surprise.
Hey, Johnny, but this goes back to what I was saying when me and you were talking earlier. This goes back to the point where you said just a few seconds ago, what are we going to do? See, that's the problem. We can't keep supporting. What are we going to do? We can't.
Well, that's where I was
supporting businesses. Oh, I'm sorry. We can't keep supporting businesses or things that is counterintuitive or counterproductive to what we stand for. At some point, we got to say, "Hey, man, this ain't right."
I completely agree. And one of the biggest examples to me is Netflix. We used to see, I grew up when I was growing up, I saw Blockbuster video everywhere. I used to make sure I rewound that tape back before I turned it into not only because
I
they
got
said it on
lazy
the box,
sometimes.
like they was going to attack me if I didn't. But what I'm basically trying to say is at this point, if we're expecting fairness to people of color in this generation, we have clearly have seen throughout the past that it's not going to happen. So as we have so many Black millionaires, and a couple of us are billionaires. You got your Oprahs, your Dr. Dre's who've done it in multiple different industries. I would love to see if we since we know it's a guaranteed truth that we are dealt the wrong hand, the bad side of the hand sometime. What are we willing to do for ourselves? I'm willing to combat Blockbuster with Netflix. They can start their own league. One thing that XFL showed us is that you can start a following if the product is decent. It would take some time to build, but you can start a product that has a following. So I feel bad for Cam. I really do. But to expect these individuals to side with him eventually, it's never going to happen. They don't look at us the same. They don't draft us the same. It's just so many. This conversation can go so deep and it'll get me so fired up. But that's what I have.
And therein lies
Anymore.
Yeah, and Johnny, therein lies the gulf that exists between the progressiveness of the NBA and the NFL. Because we have a players association that's afraid to take a stand against ownership, a body of owners that still look at them as inmates running an asylum. We forget about that.
I think the NBA, all due respect to the NBA, but when that owner spoke, he spoke for a lot of the other owners as well. I think those particular owners with the NBA, because the NBA, unlike the NFL, just to call it what it is, Black men, what do you say, white men can't jump? It's a joke, but it was a joke based on some little mild truths that we come to notice when a lot of people go to play basketball. We are superior in basketball. A lot of their top athletes, after they got past segregation, were Black athletes. So it was best for the NBA because you just wasn't going to catch too many white guys that can outplay Black guys. It was best for the NBA as a business to promote and kind of work together with different hip hop industries and this, that, and the third. It was smart for them to create that relationship. But with the football, they're not going to let you take away their white quarterback. They're not.
That's the last position. That's the last position because we taking over everything else.
We taking over everything else.
And what's real interesting, I know we've been heavy on Cam, but if we take one of your favorite teams, Professor J, look at what New Orleans did.
Right.
They signed Jameis Winston as the backup, the primary backup. The man who threw for 5,000 yards. I know he threw 30 interceptions, but he also threw 30 touchdowns to a $1 million contract with the possibility of making $3 million. But Taysom Hill got a 2-year contract worth 20-something million dollars and like 14 of it guaranteed. I understand he's been in the system, but Taysom Hill, to this date, Jameis Winston has thrown more touchdowns for New Orleans than Taysom Hill.
And play more games.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
prime example.
It's cold-blooded. It's right in our face.
The problem,
hey,
and the
y'all
problem,
gonna see what's gonna happen to Dak too.
And the problem, unfortunately, I was reminded about the problem today at work.
Ooh.
And I had an interesting conversation with one of my coworkers, and he explained that he did a little coaching in youth football. So he explained that, and my coworker was a white American, and he was explaining to me that there was this young brother, clearly the most superior athlete on the team, and what they did was the coach went up to my coworker, who was an assistant coach, and said, "Nah, I'm gonna do something." So he gathered all the kids around and he said, "Who is the best video game player here?" So this little scrawny dude emerged, a little white guy came out, and he was the ideal He was the best video game player that they had. So he became the quarterback, and they moved the brother to running back.
Mm.
And in this particular league, all he did was hand off to the running back, and the running back did all the work, scored all the touchdowns. But the coach explained it that he wanted the guy who was the best video player because he was sharp. He had the aptitude and the mind to know how to run these plays, even though physically he sucked, in my coworker's words. He sucked.
What you trying to say?
And what it was doing, what I'm saying is that they get them young. These coaches have this mentality that we, meaning a black kid or black men, can't handle the mental strain or the mental part of the game. They can do the physical thing okay, but the mental part of the game, they can't handle.
They obviously not watching football, man, because
I'm just saying
the last two MVPs are black quarterbacks. The Super Bowl MVP is a black quarterback. The highest paid player in the NFL is a black quarterback.
Well, technically he's black. Yeah, technically, but let's
you got to drop of blood in you, bro. You're black.
Right.
You know the rules.
Okay.
That's what I was saying about Mariota.
Regardless of that, my point was they're starting. It doesn't. By the time they get to the NFL or college, in some cases, it's the perception has already been built up. You know, and these coaches, they might start as youth coaches. They might graduate to high school coaches. They might graduate to college coaches. Now you're off to the pros. And they're going to bring that same mentality in it. Look, we only got this year projection. We're only going to have 8 starting black quarterbacks. So that's real. We have 32 teams. We're going to have 8, maybe 8 quarterbacks that start. And that depends on how Haskins shakes out in Washington. So
this is where I feel slapped in the face. I'm sorry, continue.
No, I'm done.
This is where I feel slapped in the face, and I agree with you, Ed. The problem is they end up using the black athletes' athleticism against them. A lot of these colleges, high schools, or whatnot, they're just focused on winning. Rarely do you come across a program, a young program, that is actually focused on building your kid up. You usually have to do your research. That school generally has some type of legacy, and individuals like sending their kids there because they know they're going to get training. If there's a weakness in their game, they're going to improve it. A lot of times when you get these black athletes, these black quarterbacks, they're so explosive from the quarterback position, something like most of these teams have never seen before, that a lot of the black quarterbacks, like we see in college, end up running the ball as much as they throw it. So we don't train them on how to work properly in the pocket. Why would I do that when you can get me 150, 180 on the ground and maybe throw for 150? It's not that the black kid can't handle the playbook. If he's forced to study the playbook, if he's forced to work on his steps, or drop back in the packet, the 7-step drop back, the 3-step drop back, of course he can do all these things. Black athletes clearly can. We know personally that black kids are smart. There's no difference. It's just a mind.
That's right.
We're arguing about melatonin and skin tone.
Uh-oh.
But the black athlete is so dominant athletically at times that a lot of times the quarterback, he can do so much. I can win you an NCAA championship, and I don't have to be a great quarterback from the basic standpoint. I can run. I can impact the game in so many ways. So that's why a lot of our quarterbacks, when they go over to the NFL, what's the first thing they want to do? Can he also play receiver?
Right.
Well, I don't know if I want to draft him unless he's willing to play receiver too.
But Johnny, this goes back to the root cause of the entire system as far as the NFL is concerned. If when you have a league who's 90% of the coordinators are white, well, offensive coordinators, well, guess what? They're going back to that, what I was mentioning about my coworker and them coaches. They want someone that they can relate to. You think about it. Take Lamar Jackson, for instance. Lamar, they brought in a specific coordinator who has experience working with that type of athlete, Colin Kaepernick. They brought his system into Baltimore and let him do his thing and thrive. And thankfully, the man pulling the strings in Baltimore, not Mr. DaCosta, who's currently pulling it now, Ozzie Newsome brought Lamar Jackson to Baltimore.
Yes, sir.
But I'm sure the conversation existed behind closed doors is, if we're going to draft this man number one, and if he's going to be the face of our franchise, Baltimore, then we're going to have to set this man up to succeed. And far too often, they don't put our players in a position, our players meaning quarterbacks, to succeed. Thus,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's why they go, they sneak up to him in the combine. Hey, would we be willing to run some receiver drills, or would you
Exactly.
mind taking a few handoffs?
Disgusting.
Heck
Just-
no,
we-
I'm not going to
we
take no
know that
receiver.
pain.
I'm not going to
Know
take no
the pain.
handoffs, and I'm not going to do no receiver drills. No.
Yeah.
And like
We
Lamar
know it.
said, Lamar, when he got to the combine, he said, I'm not running the 40. I already know I'm faster than everybody here.
Right.
I'm
Yeah,
a
we
quarterback.
know that pain. We know that pain, especially here
Yeah.
in DC,
Yeah.
because Shanahan didn't want RG3, so they ran
Yep.
him into the ground.
And then the
And
same thing
right.
happened in the next iteration where you had Jay Gruden, who didn't want
Yeah.
Haskins.
Mhm.
So
Right.
he set him up for failure.
Right.
Mhm.
There you go.
So we've seen the game played, but no matter how hard they try to set the game up for us to fail, we still figure out a way to succeed.
Of
And we're
course.
taking over.
Because we
So
smart.
that's all they can worry about. We're gonna take over this last frontier, and then the next stop is we're gonna take over the head coaching positions, then we're gonna take over the GM positions. Moving on to taking over the NBA G League
Mm.
is taking over top NBA prospects. Within a 3-week span, you had 3 of the top 10 college-bound players decide, I'm not going to go to a top college where I could be one and done, and I'm not going to go overseas to play for a year.
Mhm.
I'm actually going to play for the NBA G League elite program.
Okay.
Now, for you folks who happen to watch a few G League games, and right here in the nation's capital, we got the Washington Go-Go, which is a G League affiliate of the Washington Wizards.
Yeah.
This is not the same G League. This elite program is totally different.
It is. Yep.
First of all, these players will not be playing a G League schedule. They're being positioned with a select group of veterans who are going to help groom them, help them along, show them how to be professionals. They're going to play exhibition games against some of the G League teams, but they're mostly going to play games against top European teams and club teams around the world so they can get these players the exposure around the world. They stepped up the money. They can make up to $500,000 per year. Plus, they can do all their own marketing, make money, and the G League will pay for their school if they want to go to school.
I think it's an excellent idea.
Yeah.
It's over with.
I
Me
think
too.
it's an excellent idea, especially when you have students who you know for a fact they were C average, maybe B at best, and they know school is not for them. This is an avenue where they can actually get paid for doing something that they love. And we already know that there were individuals that came into the league, KG, Kobe, T-Mac, Amari Stoudemire, LBJ, that didn't go to college. And they did well in the league.
Kwame
So
Brown.
we're not even gonna miss Kwame because
Really?
that was a
Kwame?
bust.
I had to do it.
That was-
Kwame lasted in the
I
league
had
for
to
12
do it.
years, though.
Yeah, I know. I had to do
Kwame
it.
made almost 100 million, so he did what he was supposed to
Yeah.
do.
But I
You
mean,
know
for
who paid what? I'm
but for
sorry.
individuals that you know for a fact that's not going to make it in college, this is a perfect opportunity for them to put some money in their pocket, play the game that they love, and who knows, they may end up in the NBA.
All right. And to me, the NCAA is really screwing themselves. Just today, what they do, handed out down allegations to Louisville, USC, and a couple of other schools, South Carolina. So when people see the ugly hand of the NCAA moving, it turns them off. If I'm a young man coming out of college and I know I'm being recruited by top schools, I may know that the coach recruited me and in ways that violated what they were supposed to do, right? I
You
may
got
have
the- you got
taken
the
a little bit of
envelope.
money. Right. I may have got the envelope, or here we go, or my mom or dad got the envelope behind my back. But now I'm committed to going to a school I really don't want to, and all I want to do is play basketball. So I'm looking at the news and seeing what's going on there, and then you're gonna give me up to $500,000 to play ball. Oh, and you're gonna set me up nicely with mentors. You're gonna teach me about the ins and outs of the game. I get to play people from around the world, experience different cultures. I mean, that's more to me a better experience than making me go to class that I don't want to go to. And then now you said the caveat there, the cherry on top is that you're gonna give me money anyway. That if I choose to go back to school, I can do that. So I'm loving that format. I really am.
This is going to affect the NCAA's bottom line.
Yeah.
The NCAA had the jump on it. You had built up your basketball and football programs to get some of the most top prestigious athletes. They do big work at your university, bring you in all this money, go on to be stars, and then still send attention back down to you while they're at the next level. They had, in so many ways, the G League before the G League was the G League. You had all the stars, you had all the guys, but they didn't listen to people. The players kept complaining, the students kept complaining, individuals that left out of the NCAA system, and they would tell little small stories of not being able to eat. I'm an athlete. If you're a football player, excuse me, I know this is not the G League, but if you're playing NCAA football, a lot of them guys, if you talk to them, they say, man, I eat like a whale. Sometimes I need money because I'm just hungry. So if you're not going to hear the outcries of the people, don't be surprised when somebody else is listening and you say, you know what? I can capitalize on that. And my pockets are just as deep as yours, if not more. NCAA played themselves and they have nobody else to be mad at but themselves.
Yeah, it's
a prime example. A prime example is when they had the NCAA video game. Ed O'Bannon was trying to get some money from that,
right?
And they wouldn't even pay him for somebody who was actually on the game, and he's repping UCLA, but they wouldn't pay him a piece of that game. Yeah, I liked it too. That's why I brought it up.
Right.
What's interesting about this though is this move was actually not targeted for the NCAA. It was actually targeted against the Australian National Basketball League.
Yeah,
because this past year you had LaMelo Ball and RJ Hampton, who are probably going to both be drafted in the top 5 of the NBA draft, decide to go over to Australia and play basketball. And the Australian Basketball League was paying those guys like $300,000 plus putting them up, plus providing a call for them. So the NBA GMs was like, look, we tired of flying all around the world to go scout some people. We need to do something about this. So they fixed it, upped the money for the elite program, redesigned it, and the NCAA just gonna have to take an L for it.
Absolutely.
Okay. So here's my thing. Let me begin by saying I'm 100% supporter of higher education. I know a lot of educated people, and I've never seen where that was a bad decision. Never. At the same time, or in the same breath, I do believe that in a lot of situations, people are attending universities and these colleges to perfect their craft and to get into their craft. And so I see that point. But I'm gonna ask the question to all y'all, and then I'm gonna go forward from that. What's uncompensated labor called?
Slavery.
This ain't laugh. Are we not laughing? I'm asking you a question. What is uncompensated labor?
You going real hard tonight.
Or indentured servitude. That's what it is.
You going hard tonight, partner.
Slavery.
Wow. Right.
Slavery. And I'm not dishonoring any of my forefathers or your forefathers. I'm not saying okay, it's slavery, but the definition of uncompensated labor is slavery. So
Amen.
that's at worst.
Yep.
But the current setup as far as NCAA athletics is sharecropping.
Mm-hmm.
They let you, they bring the players, let's say the workers, they let them hang out on their land. They let them work these fields, these football fields, these basketball courts,
Right.
and they hide behind, well, we're giving you an education.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay, we're gonna give you a couple crops. But other than that, nothing else.
And most of them really don't get a real education, but that's a whole nother subject that
That's a
we
whole
won't
nother
get too deep into.
That's a whole nother subject.
That's true.
The report recently came out, and I believe it may have been even this week, where the NCAA is embattled in court, and all these discoveries as far as investigations. Let's do an investigation behind how we can make this all work as far as paying these athletes.
Because you're talking about the name, image, and likeness.
Yeah, because I'm not getting off our subject as far as the G League, but it's all tied in.
Oh,
as
absolutely.
far as it's because the bottom line is compensating these athletes. With the G League, you have the NBA players doing the one and done. And in the NFL, they have the rule where you have to be 3 years removed from your class in order to get into the field that you choose, which normally is the NFL for most college football players, if they're lucky or blessed enough to get there. So in this report, the NCAA agreed that they can't compensate the players, right? The colleges, the NCAA, that's what I'm saying, the colleges or the universities that these student athletes are at, they can't compensate the players, and the conferences can't compensate the players. So what the NCAA and these athletic directors and college presidents are doing is they're trying to hold on to this system where they have had full and complete control, autonomous control over all these athletes, all this revenue since day one, hiding behind amateurism, which we both all know is false. Because anytime you have 8.8 billion, this is the only college basketball I'm talking about. Anytime you have that amount of money involved in anything, it's not amateurs. They're being compensated. Somebody is reaping the benefits of these athletes scoring touchdowns, making layups, and advancing to the Final Four. And it ain't worth a $100,000 or $200,000 scholarship, folks. I don't care how many emails, nasty grams I get. It's not worth it. True. It's not. It doesn't add up.
I hear you. So, my last question for the group before we get ready to get up out of here is, and let's keep this kind of brief, how do you think the NCAA will look in 5 years with this new change with the NBA G League?
I think they're going to try very hard to promote I'm not going to call them lesser players, because there still be very good players that actually go on and play in college. But I think the marketability of someone coming along like a Zion Williamson, where they just stand head and shoulders above everybody else, that player is going to go into the G League and be showcased there. So, I mean, I think they'll still have a good product, because they're going to start paying for the likeness and all of that. They'll get stipends and all that good stuff. So you'll still have some players that go ahead to college, because again, we got to remember, like Ed alluded to or said earlier, there are some very good players who are also very good students, and they're going to go to school and they're going to get an education, and they're going to be recruited by those schools that actually want them to get a degree. So I think it'll benefit both sides. But I think in 5 years, the NCAA will just keep rolling. It's just some of the antiquated rules that they need to change.
I definitely have to agree with Professor Jay, because you got to think about the athletes that are playing in the D3s and the D4 leagues and D5 leagues. These are players that still want to play, and they couldn't get a D1 league scholarship. So they still have the talent to play in the NCAA. They just wasn't good enough to get into the top tier schools. So this is going to be a great opportunity for them to be able to move up and still get their education, still be able to play. Where they end up afterwards, who knows? But they'll still be able to get that shine.
Yeah, I think that you're only going to have, even when this gets more widely used, I think you'll only have each year somewhere between 5 to 10 people who even qualify to take advantage of this. And these are your top one and done guys. So what you'll see in the NCAA, it'll go back to what it used to be, where you had guys come into college who were good players who needed to develop, and they'll stay in college for 3 or 4 years, and you'll have some late bloomers who will end up being top draft picks because they've stayed in college for 3 or 4 years. So I think both will survive.
Yeah, I don't see the death knell to the NCAA, and particularly in 5 years, because they've had a 100-year jump literally on controlling this money. So they're still going to exist. But the winds of change are in the air, and that will come. It's just going to take some time. But the bottom line is, at some point in some way, they're going to have to figure out how to compensate these players in order to keep them. And never forget, the NBA, the NCAA, whatever sport you may choose to look at is star driven. Everyone wants to see Zion. No one wants to see whoever, me, Bob. You know, it's always going to be star driven. So it's always going to be a topic.
Cool.
I think 5 years is too short. 10, maybe 15 years. But if they don't, we're not going to know until one of the best years of kids heading into college. You have your top 10 to 20 prospects go to the G League. When they start paying that big money, when you get the right top 10 to 20, possibly even 30 prospects, want to make some of that money, that's when they'll have their issues. It ain't going to be right now. It's going to be after the G League gets a little bigger and they're able to pay more players, stage more games. It's going to be a fight. It's going to be a fight for the NCAA. I don't think this is going to go down smoothly at all, because money talks.
Money always talks. All right, fellas, before we get out of here, anything catch your eye this week that we need to cover maybe in the next couple of weeks?
Yes. So I'm a big boxing fan. And I don't know if y'all saw this clip of Mike Tyson for 15 seconds doing a little workout.
Oh my God.
Like, really, come on, Mike. Don't get me
it.
wrong, bro. I love you to death, but you ain't ready to get back in that ring.
No,
15 seconds is cool, but ain't no way you're going to do 12 rounds. So let it go, Mike. Please let it go.
I hear you, especially that 53. I hear you.
That's the best in shape 53-year-old I've ever seen. I hate to bump into him coming out of CVS pharmacy.
Right.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
He catch you with the 2-piece, you done.
He said CBS.
Yeah.
Gracious. What is he in his early thousands? He should not
Yeah,
be in
he
that good
crazy.
of shape.
You crazy.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
so what caught my attention this week, fellas, was the Project 11, the documentary on Alex Smith on E60 on ESPN.
Yeah, that was
I
good.
mean, to see what he went through and the eerie similarities of his injury with Joe Theismann when Lawrence Taylor shattered his leg and ended his career. I mean, Alex Smith, I mean, he doesn't have to play another down again. His courage, what he went through, just going through he had a flesh-eating bacteria in his leg, y'all. He lost most of the muscle mass and tissue from his leg. This dude almost not only lost his leg, he almost lost his life. And for him to go through that and to show the resolve that he did, and at the end of it, it was a tearjerker, because it was like, even if he never plays again, Alex got back to the most important job that he wanted. That's being a father
dad.
and a husband, right,
Yeah.
to his family. And I think hands down, man, that was one of the best E60s they've done in a long time.
Yeah, that was good. I enjoyed that too. You got anything, Ed?
I'm just gonna. So as you know, we spend a lot of time, leading up to these shows, and I'm just really fascinated as far as how that NCAA whole thing is going to shake out as far as compensation players and the image and the likeness. and that's what you were referring to, alluding to J3 as far as the video game thing is concerned. So I'm really going to be locked into that this week.
Cool. You got anything for me, Johnny, as far as things to caught your eye this week?
There was a one-on-one game between me and my dad. I won. That caught my eye. But outside of that, the Alex Smith E60 did catch my eye. That it did bring me to tears. I didn't realize his injury was that bad. When we did catch little quick news quotes, they would say there were some complications during surgery. You didn't really get a real good feel of exactly what he was going through. So to bring that to the forefront, just shows his character, his overall desire to wanting to live and be there for his family. It's very touching and it hits home. And I also agree with Ed on his outlook of the NCAA. I'm actually looking forward to seeing that go down as well. I think a lot of people have been waiting for this moment, anticipating this moment, and the moment is finally here.
Amen.
Yeah, just to add to that Alex Smith thing, hats off to the military hospital down in Texas
Yeah.
that actually put his leg back together. They did a tremendous job. The one thing that caught my eye this week, and it was a sad situation, we lost Don Shula this week. Winningest head coach in NFL history, champion with the Baltimore Colts, the godfather of the Miami Dolphins undefeated team, and a great man. They had quite a few steakhouses across the country too. Don Shula, we miss you. Great man. Sorry we lost you. All right, fellas, it's that time. Time for our final post of the evening so we can get up out of here. So J3, what you got for me?
Please, everybody, think smart. Stay home. Be safe.
Fantastic. Johnny, what you got for us?
Be smart, stay home, make sure you're wearing your mask, cover yourself, hand sanitizer. We're going to get through this thing together.
Cool. Professor?
It's Giving Tuesday, y'all. So I want to give thanks for all of you who supported any charity, not just monetarily, but with your prayers, with your activity, just looking out for the folks that serve our community and do a greater good for all humans. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
All right. Ed?
Hey, this Sunday to all the moms out there, particularly my mother, happy Mother's Day. And other than that, just be safe.
And I'd like to say for my final post, family, friends, don't let someone else allow you to be their guinea pig. Make decisions that's best for you and your family.
Yeah.
It may be a tough decision, but make a decision that's best for you and your family. No matter how much money you make, if you're not here in 6 weeks or 8 weeks, it won't matter.
Yeah.
With that, we'd like to thank you all for tuning in and listening. We definitely appreciate your time and opportunity to share our positions on sports with you. Please tune in next Tuesday at 7 p.m. for our next live show. You can also download the show via Facebook and YouTube. Please like and subscribe our new YouTube channel, The Position on Sports.
Come on.
Talk Show YouTube channel. We would
Make
greatly
yourself at home.
appreciate subscribe, help the fellas out. Tell all your friends, family members, and social media contacts about posts. We definitely appreciate that. Have a great evening. Have a wonderful week. This has been the Positional Sports Talk Show on the Post YouTube channel. Peace. We out. Love y'all.
Yeah.
Peace.
Go ahead and bob your head to that beat.
Good job.
It's that G League swag right here. It's that G League. Okay, Big Red.